Most people spend months researching which home to downsize into. They study the price, the square footage, the school ratings. Though the kids have been gone for many years, it's still a thing to consider. But there's a whole checklist of things almost nobody thinks to test before they sign on the dotted line. And those are the exact things that determine whether you love your new home or spend the next 5 years wishing you made a different choice. Today, I'm giving you that checklist. Hi, I'm Nancy, and with over 9 years specializing in the greater Sacramento real estate market, I've helped a lot of homeowners make the move to a smaller home. And I can tell you from experience, downsizing done right feels like freedom. But downsizing done without the right preparation, it can feel like a mistake you're living in. In today's video, I'm walking you through 10 things homeowners commonly forget to test before they downsize. These are the details that never show up in a listing description, but they show up every single day once you're living there. And by the way, if you're thinking about downsizing in our Sacramento area, including El Dorado Hills, Folsom, Carmichael, Granite Bay, or anywhere in the greater Sacramento region, I work with homeowners in exactly this situation every week. There's a link in the description below to book a free, confidential, no pressure consultation. Now let's get into it. Number one thing that on your checklist should be a guest parking. Here's one that catches people completely off guard. You spent 30 years in a home with a wide driveway and a 3-car garage. You hosted holidays, birthday parties, dinners. Parking was never a thought. Now you're moving into a smaller home, maybe a condo, maybe a townhome, or a community with an HOA. And the first time your kids come to visit for Thanksgiving, there's nowhere for them to park. Guest parking is one of the most overlooked factors in downsizing, particularly when you move to planned communities and condos. Before you buy, visit the property on a weekend evening, on a weekend day, and count the available parking spaces. Talk to the neighbors. Ask the HOA exactly what the guest parking policy is. It sounds like a small thing. It won't feel small the first time your daughter has to park 3 blocks away in the rain. Checkpoint number 2, storage that matches your real life. Downsizing doesn't mean you stop having things. You still have seasonal decorations, tools, sporting equipment, luggage, and a lifetime of belongings you're not ready to part with. Square footage tells you the size of the living space. It doesn't tell you whether there's a place for everything you actually own. When you tour a smaller home, open every closet, look in the garage, ask if there's attic access. Think specifically about things in your current home that have a dedicated spot and whether that spot exists in the new one. A gorgeous 1,500 square foot home with no usable storage can feel claustrophobic within 6 months. Test the storage against your real lifestyle, not just the floor plan. Checkpoint number 3, grocery access and errand convenience. This one sounds obvious, but most people only think about it in general. Yes, there's a Safeway nearby, but is a Safeway actually the one you like? Is there a pharmacy? Is there a hardware store? What about your dry cleaners? The places where you go every single week. When you're downsizing, especially if you're moving retirement, your car trips become a bigger part of your daily quality of life. I always encourage my clients to test the place where they're living. Drive the route from the home to the grocery store, to their doctor's office, or favorite coffee shops at the actual time they normally make those trips. Rush hour traffic from a community that looks convenient on a map can be completely different at 5:30 on a Tuesday. Checkpoint number 4, nighttime noise. This is one of my most important tips, and it's one almost nobody ever does. Open houses happen at 1 in the afternoon on a Saturday or Sunday. The street is quiet, the neighborhood looks peaceful, but what does that same street look like at 11 p.m. on a Friday night, or even at 6 a.m. on a weekday? Noise sources you've never noticed during the daytime include nearby bars or restaurants, late night activity, a commercial delivery route that runs at 4 in the morning, a neighbor with a dog, a street that becomes cut through during commute hours, or an HOA community where residents use shared amenities late into the evening. Before you make an offer, visit the property at night. Sit in your car, roll the windows down, listen to what you hear or what you don't hear, and it matters enormously in your daily quality of life. Checkpoint number 5, natural sunlight throughout the day. Every showing is a snapshot. You see the home at a specific time with a specific angle of light on a specific day, but the way natural light moves through a home over the course of the day is something entirely different. A home that feels bright and airy at noon may be dim and shadowed by 3 p.m. because of the tree line or a neighboring building. If you're downsizing into a smaller place, natural light becomes even more important. It's one of the key things that makes a smaller home feel open and comfortable rather than cramped. Try to see the home at 2 different times of day. Pay attention to which rooms get morning light versus afternoon light, and whether the spaces where you spend most of your time, like your kitchen, your living room, your primary bedroom, get the light that you need. Checkpoint number 6, walking distance to what matters to you. Walkability means something different to everyone. For some people, it's about being able to walk to coffee shops, to a park. For others, it's about being able to get around without a car or driving becoming a challenge. Before you commit to a smaller home, define what walkability means for your life and then actually walk it. Don't rely on the walkability score on a website. Lace up your shoes and walk from the front door to places you care about. Notice the sidewalk quality, the terrain, whether there's a shade in Sacramento summers. A neighborhood that scores an 8 on a website might have a 400-foot elevation challenge between your front door and the nearest coffee shop. Test it in person. Checkpoint number 7, internet speed and cell service inside the home. In 2026, this is non-negotiable, and it's still something people forget to check. Before you finalize a purchase, test cell service inside the home with your actual carrier. Walk through every room, especially the primary bedroom and any room you plan to use as a home office. Then ask the seller what internet provider services they have. Look up these actual speeds available, not the advertised maximum, but what current residents in that building or community are actually getting. In some condo buildings and HOA community, internet infrastructure is shared, which can mean slow speeds during peak hours. For anyone working from a home, video calling with family or streaming entertainment, poor connectivity inside a home is incredibly frustrating, problem that's not easy or cheap to fix. Checkpoint number 8, HOA restrictions that affect daily life. HOA exists on a spectrum from barely there to surprisingly involved in how you live. Before you downsize to any community with an HOA, read the CC&Rs that stand for covenants, condition, and restrictions, not just a summary, but the actual document. Common restrictions that catch debtors off guard include limitation to how long guests can park or stay, rules about holiday decorations, restrictions on what you can plant in your yard or on your patio, rules about short-term rental, if that's something you might consider, and pet restrictions on breed or size that might affect your dog. Ask specifically about monthly dues, what they cover, and whether there are any upcoming special assessments. Those are one-time fees for community repairs or upgrades that can run into thousands. Know exactly what you're agreeing to before you sign. Checkpoint number 9, emergency services, access, and medical proximity. This is one that becomes increasingly important when we move into the next chapter of life, and one that almost no one ever thinks about. How far is the nearest hospital or urgent care from the home you're considering? What's the typical response time for fire and emergency medical services in the area? In some of our more rural or semi-rural communities around Sacramento, emergency response times can be significantly longer than in more urban areas. That's not a reason to avoid those communities. Many of my clients choose them for the quiet and the space, but it's a factor worth knowing and factoring into your decision, especially if you're a spouse going through health consideration. It's a 5-minute search that provides real peace of mind. Checkpoint number, how your furniture actually fits. And this is the last one, and it sounds so simple that people actually skip it. Before moving day, measure every piece of furniture you plan to bring. Then measure the rooms, the doorways, the hallways, the stairwells. I have seen beautiful sectional sofas that could not make it into a condo living room. I have seen bedroom furniture sets that technically fit in the room, but left no space open. Downsizing also means editing your belongings that fits perfectly, but you want those decisions to be intentional, not forced on you at 8 a.m. on moving day when the truck is sitting in the parking lot. Measure everything, then measure it again. Downsizing is one of the most significant moves most homeowners will ever make, and if it's done right, it genuinely changes your quality of life for the better. I hope this checklist is helpful, and if you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe, because I put out content like this every week specifically to help in the greater Sacramento area, to help them make confident, informed decisions. And if you're thinking about downsizing, whether you're just starting to explore it or you're ready to make a move, I would love to be your guide. Click the link in the description below for a free, no pressure, confidential consultation. I'm Nancy, and I'll see you on the next one.